Hello, this is Scott Carpenter, and welcome to a special edition of the Sasquatch Awareness Project. Tonight, I wanted to talk about something very interesting. This weekend, July 22nd, they're having the Great Smoky Mountains Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg, and there's going to be a certain speaker there that's already shot his mouth off pretty good and probably stuck his foot so far down in it he's going to have trouble swallowing it. But he made a statement, and I have to give credit, because if I don't, for this quote, then I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want to draw much attention to this person, but what is claimed and what is happening is important, and I think that everybody needs to be aware, in my opinion, of what's getting ready to happen or possibly could happen. So, Matt Moneymaker, and now I'm going to have to go wash my mouth out with soap, bleach, and several other household cleaners, released a statement. And in this statement, he makes the assertion that there's a new Sasquatch study going to be kicked off, and made some disparaging remarks, and I won't get into that. I mean, stupid is, stupid does. So we'll just, what really intrigued me is this announcement looks very much like some sort of controlled PSYOP release or Sasquatch disclosure. Very much, it's very similar to the lead up to the UFO disclosure, and I think where we saw a very controlled disclosure, a guy that had, quote, resigned from the CIA, which everybody that was in the know was screaming, no, he's CIA, this is a controlled op, this is a controlled release, this is a managed agenda. And I think we're getting ready to see the same thing with the Sasquatch and its identity and the rollout here. Now, this is my opinion, but this is what I think. So, up on the screen, I have portions of that release that this fellow has his foot in his mouth and released. But it's interesting, and anybody, this should send red flags out to you. But he says a new study that will take place at a university in eastern U.S. So he doesn't say the university in the eastern U.S., which could be anywhere. I'm guessing the North Carolinas, but I don't know. Can trace its origins to DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. DARPA has a very, very bad reputation. Their job is to weaponize anything and everything and do anything and anything to people or animals or whatever to get a strategic advantage. And if you're in in the Sasquatch world, UFO world, or if you're into conspiracy theories, then DARPA, the red flags go off, trust me. And not someone or a place I'd really want to be, not to offend anybody that's in DARPA, but they're government run. And so basically, he's saying here that this program has DARPA ties, and so and so you have a guy here, and of the name I won't mention, and you have DARPA and you have a university going to release or announce a study and going to release a study, much like you had Lou Elizondo, and you had real stuff come out, but it was an info op. It was a managed agenda. It was a managed release, and I think that's what we're getting ready to see with the Sasquatch. They're going to do a managed DNA release. Their first, the first thing they got to do is they got to go out to the competition that did DNA studies before, like the Sasquatch DNA study, a Melba Ketchum DNA study, whatever you want to call it, the Sasquatch genome study, which was scientific. And I'll show that here in a second because I'm going to pound that just a little bit more because some people can't read or understand English, and so. But what they're going to do is, first thing they got to do. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, the computer decided to reboot itself. I guess I said too much about DARPA. They were reaching out and turned me off. So basically, like I said, whenever DARPA is involved, a government agency, you know. And like I said, this is having all the if it walks like a duck, it quacks and has feathers, it's probably a duck. And this release is having all the earmarks of an information op. And why, who knows, they may actually release reliable data, or they may release data that is geared to steer us in a certain direction. And much like the UFO disclosure, I think, this is not going to be an open and completely honest deal, and it's a managed agenda, and they have, they've got, like I said, they've got an agenda that they're trying to push, and so they went and first you have to destroy or take away the competition, so that's what they do. They badmouth the DNA study, blah 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 blah, and throw articles and of idiots out there, and so that's step one, and they started that, and I told you they were going to start that, and they did. The minute Melba said, "Hey, I've got money to complete my study," they started. And now this, after Ketchum comes forward and says, "Hey, I've got the money, I'm going to complete my study, or can expand my study and do the Dogman release," boom. Nothing happens in a vacuum, my friends. Nothing happens in a vacuum. And, I would say my tinfoil's firmly on, but I've run out of tinfoil because I've been having to wad them all up and throw them away lately. So, anyway, so let's, I just wanted to kind of go through this real quick. The DARPA project here, the DARPA project organizers eventually created a class of graduate students that examined these issues, talking about issues of different, from Sasquatch to paranormal stuff. And basically kind of just meanders and wonders. And he eventually gets down to that this person that he's going to introduce, he has now spoken with most of the prominent Bigfoot researchers who are still alive and in possession of hair samples that might contain DNA. He ain't spoke to me. I'm not saying I'm prominent, but anyway, that's a bunch of bull. The project is not ready to receive hair samples, but they would like to know what is out there in personal archives. So they're information gathering and finding out who has viable hair samples. Trustworthy, I'm telling you. Sounds great, but once you lift it up, it starts stinking. So I will be introducing the leader of this project at the upcoming Smoky Mountains Bigfoot Conference on July 22nd in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, blah blah blah, during my scheduled talk. He will talk about the first big DNA effort, which is a lie. And like I said, they had to do the misinformation. They have to remove any competition, to say, hey, we're the only ones, we're the only authority, only believe us, only look at our results. You can't look at these competitors and they'll start doing personal attacks and accusing of people of being liars and et cetera, et cetera. That's what you do in an information op. First you attack, knock out your competition, and then you replace once you get people waveling or, oh God, what's going on, you stick in your stuff. And that's what they're doing. Good old bait and switch. This is garbage. Here's our stuff. Our stuff's not garbage because we're, we're important people and we have DARPA on our side. He will talk about which already has a wide array of top-level scientists from various fields quietly participating and willing to publish any results they determine from the evidence. Didn't say they would publish the results, regardless of what it was. Willing to publish any results they determine from the evidence. So they might publish anything. What if they get these pristine hair samples back from a submitter, and they have the Sasquatch morphology, and they test them and the mitochondrial comes back human? I'm not a betting man, but I've got a lot of money says they will not release that. Ain't going to happen. And that's just the way this will go. Because it isn't going to show a bipedal ape. And it isn't going to show a hominid. It is going to show a hominid, but it's not going to show some relic hominid like a Neanderthal. Or, and I can't say the word, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm doubting all of it. They will receive samples, but there will be protocols involved. They first want information about the hair samples before agreeing to receive them, so the interviews can occur and the sample can be prioritized for analysis. Again, and that raises all kinds of red flags to me, that they want to interview the person. I mean, a hair sample is a hair sample. If you're doing DNA correctly, you don't need to know anything other than it's a hair sample. Yeah, they used to talk about chain of custody and all that. No, if you're using a PCR test and you're testing a hair sample and you've cleaned it forensically, like the DNA study did, and you're supposed to, the hair sample is going to yield what the hair sample yields. And if its morphology matches a Sasquatch, it's a Sasquatch. So, to me, it's just, they're reinventing the wheel. It's already been done, 111 samples. And that's what I want to talk about, because you're going to hear, there's going to be they're going to start pounding it, Melba bad, Melba idiot, Sasquatch genome study, an idiot. Everybody involved's a liar. But we got the real deal now. We've got the scientists behind us. We have the government, DARPA, leading this thing with a major university. We've got a major university involved now, and no one else had that, which is BS. But, no, we didn't have a major university because no one would touch it with a 10-foot pole. It was a privately, I repeat, privately done study with private funds. And no one was fooled. No one was hoodooed. Everybody went into it knowing exactly what they were doing, and those who gave honest, gave, and the team was being honest with them and gave them the results open and honestly. So get that out there as well. So I'm very suspect of this, because I personally, what I think is getting ready to happen is we are going to have some sort of disclosure about what Sasquatch is. But, and it may come back human hybrid, but it'll be through, it'll be through this info op, and it'll be couched and framed how they want it released. And of course give credit to, DARPA and their scientists. So like I said, it's already been done. And just kind of nail that point home. I've already talked about this, but I'm going to hit her again real quick, because like I said, there's going to be a big splash and a big huge brouhaha, and there's going to be a lot of claims and a lot of lies told, and a lot of falsehoods and fibs and everything else. So, I'm going to hit you with some facts. The facts I have the receipts for. The facts that are documented. And as a famous person once said here just recently, let the record now reflect that the DNA study took in 111 samples. 7 research groups and 32 individuals submitted samples. Samples included hair, tissue, blood, mucus, scratched tree bark, saliva, and a toenail. Origin of these samples with North America and Canada. The submitters included physicians, college professors, policemen, and professionals from all walks of life. Some of the notables here was Dr. Layla, who worked with the Erickson Project, Dr. Igor Burchev, Dr. Angela Caparella, Dr. Fehrenbach, Dr. Gwen, and Dr. Centel. And we've got neurologists, board certified plastic surgeons. Seems like some pretty heavy hitters here. The team, there was a team. It wasn't Dr. Ketchum pulling wool over people's eyes or doing all that, any of those shenanigans. There was a team. Here are the names. You can look them up. You can Google them. You had a microbiologist or molecular biologist. You had a clinical pathologist. You have a director of the crime lab, in North Louisiana crime lab. You had bioinformatician. You had a professor at the Department of Biology, professor of biochemistry and biophysics, microscopy and imaging center at Texas A&M. So these weren't also rands. These were top-notch scientists that were unmercifully attacked by some of the people now that are claiming that they're getting their first study. Miss Elise Watts of Integrated Forensic Laboratories, and David Spence was the trace evidence supervisor of Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science, Criminal Investigations Laboratory, Dallas County, Texas. Very important guy. If he boobs up, and then people getting out of jail. Also, we had universities involved. Interesting. And not directly involved, no, but we had university labs involved. And of course we had the here's the 13 laboratories used, type of testing they did, etc., etc. These people were given money, receipts, and return results. There are hard receipts for this information, and none of these labs have ever denied involvement in the study. None of these labs have ever sued Dr. Ketchum or anybody and said they weren't involved in the study. None of these men right here on this page have ever sued Dr. Ketchum. None of these people have ever denied being involved. Now, they obfuscate, say, I don't know what you're talking about, but none of these people right here, I guess I shouldn't say denied, let's put it this way, they will just not answer the question because it's a career killer, especially for them. Probably shouldn't have said denied, but I said it. But anyway, the bottom line is none of these guys have come forward and sued Dr. Ketchum and said, remove our name from that study. It's a pile of garbage. That hasn't happened. It's what's missing. That's important. It's what's missing that tells the tale. Nobody in this list has sued anybody. No one has gone after anybody and told them, get my name off that paper. If this paper was a bunch of crap and a bunch of garbage, do you think that they would still want their names associated with this study? Alright, I know I'm preaching. I'll cut her down here real quick. Let's go see DNA diagnostics of Natchitoches, Texas, the North Louisiana Criminalist Laboratory, Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science, Family Tree DNA, Secret of Houston, Texas, Helix Biological Laboratory, Department of Biological Services at Wayne State University, Detroit, Michigan, University of Southern California, Los Angeles, California, University of Texas at Arlington, UNT Center for Human Identification, University of North Texas Health Centers, Fort Worth, Texas, Texas A&M University, College Station, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Texas Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Laboratory, Texas A&M, and Hughley Pathology Consultants, Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, not a serious study. The hairs were screened. Mr. David Spence of Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science, he identified hairs that were classified as potential novel hominid. And the hair, in other words, he He looked at the hairs, and the hair that matched up with Bigfoot morphology were set aside to be tested, and they found that DNA shafts, Bigfoot shafts will not yield DNA. It takes a hair tag. And so basically the bottom line, and you need to understand, and nothing that they come back with from this new study is going to be any different. Bet the farm, I bet anybody, if I had the money to offer it, I'd say take a legitimate Sasquatch hair and mitochondrial DNA, the mitochondrial DNA is going to always be human, period, in a sentence. That's it. That's what it's going to be. And basically the major point and one of the huge takeaways from the Sasquatch genome study or DNA study is that the project found that the hairs were not human and distinct from human hair, and yet the point cannot be stressed enough. Non-human hair yielded human mitochondrial DNA, and it always will. And I don't care, they can bang their heads against the wall all they want and test and test and test again and test some more, and it's always going to be human. So anyway, one other thing I wanted to go point out real quick. They said it wasn't a serious scientific study. It was submitted to the journal Nature. They accepted it in September of 2011. Now, come on, journal Nature doesn't accept garbage. It's a Sasquatch study. Right up front it says it. The submission number 201109111671. Look it up. Of course, there's some people that don't want to look it up. The criteria for a paper to be sent for peer review are that the results seem novel, arresting, illuminating, unexpected, or surprising, and that the work described has both immediate and far-reaching implications. That is the criteria given for the journal Nature to take a paper. Very important. It was a huge accomplishment for journal Nature to even review the paper. It was and is a serious scientific study. Take it to the bank, end of sentence. An average of 14,000 papers from 13 countries are submitted to the journal Nature for peer review each year. On average, only 7.4% of the 14,000 papers submitted each year are selected by the editors to be peer reviewed. And there's the source right there. So, of that, for 2011, the Sasquatch DNA study was selected, only 7.4% of the average 14,000. Now the paper was rejected, but the referees sent it back and said, they rejected it with revisions. So they basically, when that happens, they say, okay, we're rejecting it. We want you to make revisions and please resubmit the paper, which they did. The study did. And this right here is just some of the reasons they said. And they wanted her to add certain things. They wanted her to remove negative proof. Like I said, what's not there is very, very important. It's one reason they wanted it out there. And so that's what I'm saying. The referees required the negative results were removed from the paper. This was an odd restraint, raising a red flag to the possible underlying motives of the referees and the editors of Nature. This motive issue is raised mainly due to the fact that some of the most compelling data was contained in these so-called negative results. There was no contamination. So basically, after they made all these changes, they resubmitted the journal in late 2011, I think November maybe, And the resubmission number was 2011091161A-Z. And then after delaying for almost another year, in October 2012, without explanation, without comment, they just declined magically to publish the paper. But it was accepted and it was reviewed. A very important fact. So with that, I'm going to shut her down. I blabbed long enough. I'm kind of fired up, and I get fired up when I see people I know who've worked hard and tirelessly slandered and maligned. But that's just the name of the game. It's part of it. But we got, you have to defend good people. You have to defend hard-working, honest people, and that's what I'm going to do. And believe in me what you will, but there's, the hundreds of people involved in that project, from submitters to scientists to Dr. Ketchum to those who put their hard-earned money into the study. Dave Pilates and Dennis Erickson and Wally Hersham and all the people that worked at the Kentucky project. And there's a lot of people put in a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat and tears, a lot of time away from family. And it was a serious study, and they did the impossible. They were a bunch of rednecks with out here, getting hair samples, and we did it. We proved scientifically that the Sasquatch is a living being, that it's a human hybrid. And there's just a lot of people and a lot of people with agendas that can't accept that, won't accept it, and will do their best to destroy it. They're still out there, and this weekend they're at the Gatlinburg, the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Gatlinburg. They're going to be on full display, folks. If you want to throw in and go up there and see the clown show, have a good time. But anyway, God bless. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon, hopefully, with another part 2 of the conclusion of the Sasquatch Genome Project series, and we'll be doing part 2, and that'll be coming soon. So guys, take care, God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.